We're honored to have Christie here first time with us as a presenter at our Super Coaches Clinic. She's got deep roots in the game from around the world, namely a recent at the WNBA level with the Indiana Fever. She's now an assistant coach with Team Canada, which is a new opportunity for her over the last year. So we're honored as our country to have her expertise on the sidelines with our Team Canada women's program.
Okay. Good morning. Happy Friday, guys. I am truly excited to be here with all of you today. First, just want to say thank you, Adam, Dan, for inviting me to be a part of such a fantastic group of presenters today. I'm going to be honest with you. I wish we were in a gym somewhere together on a basketball court where we could talk hoops. You could feel my energy. I could feel yours. And you could see the passion that I have for this sport. That's kind of my safe space, a basketball court. I feel like sometimes when I'm doing some of these Zoom calls, you just can't get that same feel. But I'm going to do my best to make this as informative as possible for you. And we'll be able to take some good information back to help you guys along your coaching journey. Quickly, like Adam said, I'm so excited to be a part of the Canada basketball family. We had an exciting summer in June at the Amero Cup when I accepted the opportunity to join the senior women's team. It just wasn't another coaching stop for me. It felt like the start of something that I genuinely believe can be world changing for the basketball in the country of Canada. And I'm really excited for what's to come over the next few years. Basketball has taken me on an incredible journey. I come from a really small town in Louisiana. You probably couldn't tell with my accent. But this sport has become my passport to the world. As a player, I was able to play for two Hall of Fame coaches. Van Chancellor, I played for him at Ole Miss. He went on to coach the Houston Comets to several world championships. I then went on to play at Louisiana Tech for Leon Barmore. His assistant at the time was Kim Mulkey. They both won several championships. But being at Louisiana Tech, I was able to win conference championships, play in the Final Four. I was just very blessed to have played for such successful coaches and use the experiences that I had as a player to form the foundation of how I coach today. I started in high school basketball. That was my first coaching job. I really can appreciate the jobs of support staff and people around teams now. It kind of makes you, when you're the one having to wash the uniforms and drive the bus and, stay around late for players and take players home. It just gives you a different perspective, and it makes you just appreciate things so much more once you are blessed, like I have been, to get to the level of coaching that I am. I went on to coach at Louisiana Tech at my alma mater. We played in the Elite Eight, and then I was given the opportunity to go back home and coach at LSU. LSU's been an amazing program with women's basketball. For years, I was able to join that staff a year after they had been their first Final Four. From there, I was able to coach in the 3 Final Fours after that. So I'm one of those coaches who are lucky to have been a player in a Final Four, and then also a coach. That's when I decided I wanted to pivot and join the professional game. My first professional coaching job, I was with the Slovakian national team. Probably, if I have to say, was one of the most fulfilling experiences in my coaching journey. Just a quick story about Slovakia. They had not made it to any European championships. They hadn't qualified for anything. And we took the job, and we had a pretty tough group of teams that we had to win against to make it to the European championships. We were in a pretty good position, and then we lost a game that we should not have. And then we had France, powerhouse France, coming in, and we had to play those guys just to keep the opportunity alive for us to make it to the European championships. Coaches and I were down in the lobby of the hotel. We were trying to game plan for the game. Didn't know what we were going to do, trying to figure out, how could we win this game? How could we put our players in a position to be successful? And a couple of the players just walked down, and they said, "You guys need to go to bed. We've got a big game tomorrow." Loved their confidence, loved how they were feeling. They were feeling good about the game. We still were unsure how we were going to play this game. That next day, we went into that game. We played 40 minutes of 2-3 zone. We hadn't played a possession of zone that entire tournament. Played 40 minutes of zone in Slovakia and was able to get that win. And it was just a huge win for those players and for the country. And it just was, you could see the pride. And so that was a real fulfilling experience for me. Because of that experience, I was able to go on to coach at Spartak Moscow. I know you guys have heard of some of the players that I had on the team there: Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Lauren Jackson, Sylvia Fowles. We were pretty dang good. And, as coaches, really good players make you look like a really good coach, but we were really, really good. Becky Hammond was on that team as well, but we were a really good team and won several EuroLeague championships, won some EuroLeague championships and some Russian League championships. And that's when my journey took me to the WNBA, coached the Chicago Sky. Team had never made it to the playoffs, in our third season and played in the championship games. Our fourth year against the Phoenix Mercury. Went on to be an assistant with the Indiana Fever, the Atlanta Dream, and then made the decision. I really had never aspired to be a head coach. I love being an assistant coach. I love being with the players and just to be able to develop players and spend that time with them that you don't get as a head coach, but made the decision to go be the Indiana Fever head coach. It was an amazing experience. They had won 5 games the year before I took the job and 6 before that. Went into that season, had a couple free agents that we signed, ended up winning 13 games, which is more than they had won in the past, those last few years, but it was an exciting year. We had established a really good culture, some standards, and players had bought in. And then in year 2, we didn't make the playoffs, so we got the first round pick again. And that's when we drafted Caitlin Clark, and she came in, and players like Caitlin and Paige Beckers and Angel Reese, these guys have just changed the game. I mean, they've changed the game in a great way. But in that second season, we played in front of sold out crowds every night, on the road, at home. Just an exciting time in women's sports. But we made the playoffs that year. We won 20 games. It was just the first time they'd been to the playoffs in 8 seasons. But as you all know, being a pro coach, it's high risk, high reward. Those guys decide to move it in a different direction. And that's just what, that's what you live with, being a pro coach. But I'm telling you, I'm really proud of what our coaches and our players did that year. And that was just a great experience for me as a head coach to move over that seat as an assistant and be a head coach. But to start without, if you've seen me coach, and I'm a very competitive and passionate person, I believe in playing a pressure style defense, a fast paced offense, and I finish that with some poise when you have to execute at the end of games, when there's games on the line. So I want to go ahead and jump into my presentation about pressure, pace, and poise. First, I want to talk a little bit about, I have a couple things as a young coach coming up all those years ago. I'm not going to age myself, but I used to love going to all the clinics that I could. Anytime, we didn't have Zoom clinics that you could be on all the time, but now, back then, and when you could leave clinics with just handouts or things that the coaches left for you, I just love that, because you could bring it home and you could add your own philosophy. So there's just some things, these are things I've taken from other coaches, but I've used throughout the years. It's just three worksheets that can spark your thinking as you develop or sharpen your philosophy. The first one right here is just a systems, area of systems of the game. And it's more of like a checklist for you. You can, just to, when you're going through getting ready for your seasons, my transition, my early offense, early flows, secondaries, which half court sets, quick hits, special situations are you going to use? On the defensive side, just your transition defense. How are you going to guard in the perimeter? How are you going to guard in the post? How are you going to guard screens? Shooting, huge part of the system. Got to put the ball in the hole to win. So just all the different ways you can score. Are you touching those in your development workouts with your players? The last one is always going to be free throws. I'm going to talk about that throughout this presentation. You never want to lose time and just get rid of the free throws at the end of the practice. You want to make sure you're shooting those free throws. Special situations, offense and defense. Lynn Dunn was my general manager in Indiana, and this is the one thing that she stayed on me about. Just special situations, making sure that you're spending the time. We always like to put those at the very end of our practices, and a lot of times when your practices have gone long, that's the first thing that gets kicked out. So just for one of the things that I did as an example is we had a box at practice, and we had wrote down we had probably 20 different scenarios in there of just how to, different times in game, end of game situations, down 3, our ball, down 2, defenses, the opposing team's ball, and just play those scenarios out with what you and your coaches had decided to do in those situations. The last part of the systems is just scrimmaging. As a young coach, I didn't do enough scrimmaging. I didn't do enough live action stuff. I tried to talked more. I thought I was teaching more. But these young people, they want to play. They want to get into it. So you want to do a lot of things, play more controlled live. Mini games are really good in this area. Fundamentals, it's all about details. There are no little things. I think we've all heard that quote. But those are just some examples down there on the offensive side of the ball and defensive skills. Just to, again, a checklist for you. The next one is just practice planning. I'm not going to talk through this one. Everything that I have today will be, I will get to Adam, and he will be able to email these documents to you so you can have them just for you to be able to use and use again as a checklist. This is kind of how I do my practices in different formats with the beginning. Always starting with ball handling, passing, some sort of shooting drill just to get us going. I'm going to go back up to the warm-up stretch really quick. I'm not one who likes to spend a lot of time. I'm ready to get in practice. So when I'm watching my players warm up, I want to make sure that my strength coach knows they need to be ready for practice. Whenever the horn goes off and their time is up in that warm-up stretch, if we wanted to go live right there, that's what we would do. They would be able to do that. But then just the middle part of practice, usually the beginning is some offense and then development work, position work, always shooting free throws, always have competitive drills. Middle, we go into our defensive review, team drills, and then always have the competitive drills, the small-sided games when you're preparing, just to keep the game moving, keep it as chaotic as possible. Basketball is a chaotic game. It's like organized chaos. So you want to mimic what it's going to be like for them in games. And then always end with scrimmages, special situations, and then make sure you get those free throws in. Just some things when you're creating drills, drill reminders, be purpose driven. If you're implementing a drill, always ask yourself, what game, skill, or situation are you trying to improve? A lot of times if you start talking your way through it and you're like, oh man, they're not going to get what I'm trying to get out of that. And then that's just, you're able to throw that one away and not waste time. Keep it game-like. I said that in the last clip. Your drills should include decision-making, not just, not like robot reps, defensive presence. When you're working on offense, just make sure that you have a defensive presence out there. Once if you're working on how to come off a pin down, and you've taught them that they're either going to lock and trail you or they're going to shoot the gap on you, and you show them how to counter those movements, go ahead and go put a defense out on them so they can see it. It just makes the timing and spacing better. It gives them an opportunity to make a real read, not scripted ones. Anytime players, if they don't make decisions in drills, it'd be hard for them to make them in games. Want to make sure you're building competition into your drills. We all know players lock in more if there's a score or a consequence. A couple different ways I've done that is just making a different scoring system during your drills. So that's just an example of that. Always try to work multiple skills into your drills. As a coach, I got better at that as I became more just needing to, maximize my practice efficiency. Just make sure you're not just focused on one thing. If you're lucky enough to have assistant coaches with you, have certain coaches that are just watching certain things so they can, be able to correct and talk to the players about whatever it is that you gave them, you put them in charge of. Moving on, we're going to get right into it now. I just wanted to throw those out there. I like to be able to leave some things with you. I've got a few other things. Like I said, everything I have for you will be, you'll be able to get. But again, pressure, the defense piece, pace, and poise. And I love playing fast. I think that's where the game is going. I think up-tempo defense and playing fast is just where the game is going. So just want to give you some information, some ideas to help you as you build your philosophy. But here, this is us. Just a couple things to get us into the pressure piece, the defense. This is us in the AmeriCup this summer. We were really trying to create a dominant defensive culture. That is what we want to stand on. We want to lead the world in defensive effort. And I just wanted you guys to take see a few clips of that before I get into your defensive identity and your standards, just to show you our guys, they got out and they defended this summer. We were able to, I think we left there as the number 2 ranked team in the tournament in defense. We were very proud of them for that. So just wanted to kick you off with that. As I'm going through this, y'all, I just want to just bear with me because I'm going to go between my slides and I'm going to go between sports code to show you some clips. I tried to put it all in the slides, but it was just really difficult. I couldn't control the rewind and forward as well, or able to move on to the next one. So just bear with me as I start going back and forth. But just for the pressure, establishing your defensive identity and your standards. These young people, they want to know why you're doing things. And so you want to make sure that these guys, that they know, they understand the defense, how defense wins games, how it wins possessions. We always like to say our defense is going to help us score offense. But they need to know it sets the tone, reflects toughness, create clear, non-negotiable standards. Some examples that I use, and again, this is all my philosophy, but what I like to do is I like to have standards that I can always show my players that we can track. I want to be able to calculate whether we're able to get these or not. So that way they're, it's not just, hey, you got to play hard. I can show you, you're not playing hard because of this. We're not pressuring the ball enough. Look at you right here. But just some of our non-negotiable standards, ball pressure, deflections, actives, hands and feet, sprinting back and transition defense. I call the area between the free throw line and free throw line the danger zone. We actually are able to track that. We time our players sprinting from free throw line to free throw line. So when we're watching video and we can show them exactly, they did not run from that one free throw line to that other one, that danger zone area, the way they're capable of doing. You want to be able to figure out a way to talk. I'll show you a couple things that we do to help with talking, how to drill talking, but it needs to be early, loud, and continuous. I teach a no middle drive. I'm a no middle drive team. So we want to make sure that we are sending our that offense to the corner. I don't say baseline. I think that will open up your feet too much, but no middle drives. And we contest every shot. That's something that I watched a video back when I was a young coach of the Chicago Bulls. And that is something that was one of their number one things that they really focused on one season and just made a difference. And then we also like to take a charge a game. Name your culture. This is just something I've done in the past. It just gets them fired up to have something you can talk about. Whenever you're trying to build your defensive culture, two of the main points that we're going to talk about is communication first. I always like to say a quiet gym is a losing gym. You want to make sure that you teach what you want your players to say. If you want them to be talking an entire defensive possession, then you need to make sure they understand and know what it is that you want them to say. I'm going to jump right here to this isn't on my slides, but I want you guys to see this will be available to you. I create a terminology page that it just keeps running throughout the season. But I want to get this to you guys. I'm not going to go through them all. But it'll just give you a starting point, or if you want to, take some, add to mine, add to yours, take it, whatever. But this is just another thing that I like to show, just so that, never expect they know. I learned that really early. So just make sure they have a something that they can look at and they can learn, and what you want to use as your terminology for your season. Drill communication, talking. Always have a consequence for when your gym is quiet. If you're not talking, you're not playing defense. Another good quote that I like to use, but possession shouldn't count. You should always make sure that when you're doing drills, and you always should make talking one of the main things that you're looking for in that drill on the defensive end. An example of something that I've done in the past, and I got this from Coach Pop with the Spurs. Becky Hammond is a friend of mine. I coached her in Russia. But when she was with the San Antonio Spurs, we would go watch their training camp. And Coach Pop had a thing that he did every day for his practices. He actually had a staff member, and their only job was to have the game plan, the practice plan. And they were to just move from one drill to the next when the clock, when the horn sounded, and they were supposed to move on to the next. They rarely stayed on a drill. If it didn't get finished in that time frame, they would find another time to go back to it. They wouldn't just continue with it throughout that practice. But that coach that was responsible for the movement of practice, he would literally talk. If you were a 10 volume, that being your loudest, he would probably talk at a 2 or a 3. And he would just say, if we were moving on to another drill, and let's just say it was Bulls DHO, he would just say, all right, guys, Bulls DHO. And he would say it at that volume tone. But the players knew after every drill, someone had to be running to get close to that coach so they could hear what he was saying. And then those guys would now echo yell to their teammates on what the next drill was, and they were moving to those spots of where they needed to be. So it was just, they knew they had to be listening, which is a skill in itself. I think that's one thing we always want players to talk. I think listening is a great skill as well. So it helped them with both. Someone who had to listen, get the drill, and then echo yell it to the rest of the team. But I've used that in the past. Reward vocal leaders. Anytime you have a player that's very vocal, you want to make sure in your practices or your film sessions that you're letting those guys know that you appreciate what they're doing. The second part after the communication is just relentless pressure. But when you are trying to put pressure on the ball, you've got to make sure you're doing it the right way. Pressure without fouling is huge. Control, disrupt, dictate. You want to emphasize body control, active hands, and angles. You do not want to reach. You want to teach your players how to play aggressive without getting themselves in foul trouble. Make sure you're defending the ball, protect the paint. So it starts with the ball. And then you want to make sure, in my opinion, I always have taught, protect the paint. We're going to keep the ball out of the paint. We want to keep it on the side of the floor where there's less space to have to defend. I want to make sure we're pressure. We should force tough passes, tough catches, not let teams get into a rhythm, not let them get into their offense, delay the timing of getting set up. And one of our main things is just not letting players get 2 feet in the paint. When you play this style, it's hard to play. It's pressure defense is exhausting. Want to make sure that you have your team in really good condition, especially late in games. If you're not conditioned, you're going to have late rotations, fouls, and then just overall breakdowns. I want to show you a few things really quick. Right here on my sports code of some of the things that we just talked about, the non-negotiables, just a few clips so you can see what we're talking about. I show these to our players. all the time. But here's just some from the ball pressure. Sammy Hill right here is up. This is in our game this summer against USA. She's up, hounding the ball, pressuring the ball. This is their first offensive possession. She's able to get a hand on the ball. That's how you set the tone, able to get that turnover, and then we get to go play offense. Right here, you see Sade Wilson. Our goal is to pick up the ball before it touches half court. I'm pretty sure I was on her after this game because we want to be above half court. We want to force to the sideline. We want to make sure that we are not in this middle third. The middle third is the lane lines right here. We want to keep the ball on the side so we don't have so much room that we have to cover defensively. It just makes it so much easier to defend. But Shai's up defending the basketball, hand on the ball, turnover going the other way. Delaney Wilson right here, you see her picking up the ball. I put this clip on here because I want you to see one of the main things that we try to teach when defending the elbow areas in this space right here. We never want to let the ball be caught in this area. So we do a great job right here of making them catch it. If she does catch it, you see she's outside the three-point line, but Kayla Alexander does a great job of pressuring the basketball and making it hard. And then we're next play mentality. That pressure leads to our pace, and we're moving in the right direction. Deflections, just a couple of these. Sila Swords coming under a ball screen. A ball screen, gets her hand up. We teach in this situation, as soon as the ball goes into two hands, that we move our body into that offensive player. You see Shea Coley right here move into her body, and we go directly into high hands. We're able to get another deflection. Again, these are all things that you can track, you can calculate, so you know where you are and if you're doing a great job of pressuring. We don't only count hand deflections. It can go off your head. It can go off your foot. You can see right there, Vaughn kicked it off her foot. That goes for her as a deflection. Transition defense. Our first rule in transition defense is to make sure on the rise of the shot. On the rise of the shot, you can see Kayla takes that first shot. She's got to get back. We sent one back in this game. I think we actually changed it and we started sending two back because these guys were so good in transition defense. But we want to make sure that we're getting back with our designated players, and then we're sprinting through that danger zone. One of the things in transition offense that you can score off is when the defense tries to make plays in the backcourt. It's something that players just think they can get a hand on the ball, they'll get a foul, or they'll get out of position, and now the offense has the advantage. So we really want to talk about, if you're going to gamble and go for it, you better get it, because you're going to put us at a disadvantage. You see, we kind of maybe stayed too long, but Shai was back. Sila Swords was back right here. Delaney got caught back up and then was able to get on the ball. One of the best things about this drill right here is if you watch Sila right here, our call is white. She's down there. She's yelling white because she is a mismatch with one of the best post players in the country. And she is fighting this whole possession to keep in the front of her. We let the ball get to the middle, but Delaney does a pretty decent job. But then as you see, as the ball gets picked up, Delaney goes hands up, body into that offense, ends up getting us an offensive charge right there. The next one, off of a steal. We got to talk, you got to sprint back. Right here, you see Sammy Hill. She's talking to Shea, telling her to pick up this wing player. This has got to be happening. As soon as that ball is coming at you, players have to start talking. We like to try to catch the ball up higher, but right here, this was a tough one. Sala was down, but she comes back into the play. Got to sprint through that danger zone. I can't say that enough. I promise you, games are won or lost on both ends of the floor by who sprints fastest through those danger zones. Get a guard-to-guard switch, which is an automatic for us right here. Sammy gets a great contest, and that's a great possession for us against a really good USA team. My last one in transition defense, I talked about trying to make a play in the backcourt, getting out of position, giving the offense an advantage. Here's a situation, another reason why we will get beat in transition defense is because players will get their shot blocked and then they put their head down, or they'll think they got fouled and they'll look at the ref. And in that moment, there goes the offense, and you are stuck now at a disadvantage. But I want you to look at Philly right here. This is the culture that we are trying to build in Canada with our defense. Yep, Philly, great player, big player, gets blocked. But I want you to watch her. Look at her run through this danger zone. She is passing up every player on the court, including our guards, to get to that because she knew she got blocked. She did not. She wanted to find a way to get that ball back. So that is a great clip of just the culture that we're trying to set. No middle team. Again, everything you can track. We want to make sure right now this would be Sala's right foot. That would need to be up so we can force her to this corner. Like I said, I don't say baseline. I feel like sometimes if you say baseline, that opens up your stance too much. We are forcing to that corner. Miles, right? Olivia Miles gives her a little jab. Sala falls for it, and she's able to get 2 feet in the paint. Now, I'm pretty sure during this tournament, I was showing this clip because just the way we teach this, we should have had Vaughn, who was more on the midline. Sammy should have been playing deeper. So that way, if Vaughn had to stop the ball, if there was a kick out, then we would X out and Sammy would take these guys. So I'm sure they saw it while we were there, but just want to make sure we're keeping that ball on the side. This one, Sammy is guarding a pin down right here. Our scheme to guard and pin downs against these guys was we were going to shoot the gap. So Sammy's job was to shoot the gap through here and meet her man, which should have put her in her feet in pretty good position, her left foot up to keep the ball on this side of the floor. It's just so much easier. Look at all the help that she would have with this corner fill man. She has Kayla here. If she just forces that ball to this corner, there's really nowhere for them to go. But took a jab, and then they were able to get 2 feet in the paint. Again, we play gap style defense. So Shy right here she should have been here, not letting that player get to the middle of the floor. And then that puts our post players in a position where they can pick up a foul. I want to show this one, Shea Coley. There's times that you're just going to be really hard to keep the ball from moving to the middle of the floor. But if you body up in this position, we teach keeping that right now. If she's beat and her right foot is up, you've got to body into that defender, and you've got to make sure you keep forcing them up towards the half court line and not letting them turn the corner on you. So you can see Shea right here. She has got her body turned. So yep, she went middle on her, but she was able to use her strength to hold her out right there. So that was just a good job. Contest every shot. Got to make sure we are high hands. We are coming off of our feet. We're not flying past the shooter. We want to make sure we're going straight up at the shooter. And so that way we're not in a rear view pursuit if we get behind the offensive player, but it also keeps us in a position where we have to box out. That was a good contest by Shy right there. Sala, this one I put on right here. You see Vaughn gets a great contest. Great contest. If her hand would have been here, low, some people put their hand low. She's up in the eyes. If it was low, that would not have counted as one of our contests. That would have been a no contest on our stat sheet. But this is a great contest. But I put this one on here because I want you to see post players have a really bad habit of when they are contesting a shot, they want to run to that rim. You want to make sure that you are drilling contest and then step right into your man that you just contested. So that way you're able, if the ball pump comes right back to that shooter, you're in a position. Vaughn was almost in a position where it got over her head and went right back to the shooter. This last one right here with contested shots. This is Tara. Tara does a great job on this dribble handoff. Our scheme was to sprint under dribble handoffs if the ball is going away from the rim. So the ball is going away from the rim. Tara, she sprints through it to meet the offensive player. She gets a great contest. But in this game, really great players can make tough shots. So that's just one. We got a great contest, but just went in for them, which was a great shot by a great player. The last one is just charges. And this is one, I talked about lead the world in defensive efforts, celebrating an intense style of play. These are things that we try to do every day when it happens at practice. So it carries over in a game. I give the players $150. I did it in the Amero Cup. They talked about it all the time. I thought they were just going to start taking charges to take my $150. But I just want to show you, you can see Shy right here take a charge. You can see right there, she's pointing at me. It just creates some fun with our players, but it's just a change of, it just changes the game when these guys are willing to take, take a hit for their team. You see Shea Coley right here do the same thing. And then you just see these guys. I mean, it's the smiles. I mean, it's just a game changer. Last one, Russ right here was probably the one all summer trying to take my money. She finally got her one in the game. Just makes it exciting for these guys. You can see them. I mean, great culture when you're trying to build something on the defensive side of the floor, which was what I focused on this summer for the senior team. I'm going to go back to my, bear with me. I'm going to go back to my slides right here. Always make sure you're grading your defensive efforts in scrimmages and games. I always tell my players, we watch a lot of video, sometimes probably too much, but I think it's just the best tool. But I'll say this, I always tell my players before we start the season with video, I'm never trying to make anyone look bad. I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus. It is just the best tool to be able to fix things that need to be changed on the court where they can see it. I always laugh, video doesn't lie, but make sure you're tracking all those things I just showed you. It really helps when you're building your culture. Reward disruptions. Always, I like to have a defensive captain. I know people just usually have two captains. I usually like to have somebody that just is about the defense, and it's somebody that usually has pretty good energy, talks a lot, but they're able to monitor energy, and during drills, they're able to get things going when we're on the defensive side of the floor. I want to break again. I want to go to some defensive drills really quick, drills to build these habits. These are some clips that I took from my last season with Indiana. I think I talked about fundamentals. I talked about how there are no little things. We break things down pretty much from the basic movements. So if we were working on, this is probably the first defensive segment of our first day of training camp, but we are just going 2-on-2 right here. And we're talking about on the ball pressure, hands on the ball, making sure our feet are where they're supposed to be, sending the ball to the sideline. And we're going top to top, which is slot to slot. I've got my other defender. She's in the gap. We teach gap lines. We want to make sure that we take away middle drive. So we are always in a position to take away a middle drive, but in a good position to close out. So simple drill, talking ball, gap. The offense is just going to make a pass to the wing, to the opposite slot. These guys move in position. We're in ball. We've got our right foot up now, sending to this wing, this corner. And then I've got Aaliyah Boston here who's going to move to the midline. And as this dribble drive is happening, we teach ball line, always trying to stay in line with the ball. There's no reason for her to be up here. So she is dropping down as that ball gets deeper into the paint. And that is just the first part of a really easy drill. You see, we just rotate. The next person comes over and takes the ball handler that's going to drive. And then we're just working on our basic fundamentals. We move to 3-on-3 from here. Same concept. I've got a coach here that's the offensive player, but we don't have a defender. We have a ball side corner, a ball side post, and then a weak side slot. We're going to guard the weak side slot. We're going to guard the ball side corner and the ball side post. But we're going to go gap. We're going to go top to gap or wing to corner right here. So that way we're working on this movement. If the ball is in a position up high, we want to make sure that we are in a high gap where we can take away the ball drive, the basket drive, but we're also able to we don't want to leave a wide open 3-point shooter in this corner. This is the highest percentage shot in basketball right here. So we want to be close enough. If the ball was in the corner and if we were guarding this coach right here, we would feel more comfortable being a little bit lower towards the ball handler, clogging up the middle, because that pass going back up top is a non-penetrating pass, which won't hurt you as much. So we're able to give more help and then able to close out. Right here, only thing we're working on this drill is that drive that was part of our drill before with the 2-on-2, working on this drive to the basket and the movement out of it. So right here, we've got our gap. We've got Caitlin right here playing in her gap, and we've got Katie Lou. We're playing a high 3-quarter. Liz made sure we let the player beat us. And right here, all the movement that we're working on is the help from the ball side low, or actually now weak side. And then where this defensive player comes in to help the helper. What we like to teach is if you're man guarding this low corner player and you're coming down here to stop the dump down to the post, you want to make sure that you are positioned on the high side and in front where you can get a hand on a dump down. But you also don't want to have you be in a position where you're on the inside and they make a pass to the corner and this guy's able to screen you out. So we talk about sitting on the knees of these defensive players right here to stop the dump down and able to get out. So you see Katie Lou come over, she stops the ball. Caitlin was sitting on the knees and then she was able to recover. You see high hands and then her left foot up to force to that corner. On this end down here, we have ball side post, and then we're going to have a weak side corner. And what we're working on this drill is the baseline drive and where the help comes from on it. So right here, we don't have a defender playing the ball. We would have a lot of pressure on it. Caitlin's in her gap. She's moving over to put hand on the ball, make it hard, disrupt passes. We want to be in our gap from the wing to the corner, want a little bit closer to our man because this is a high percentage shot, but able to help and stunt if needed, if there's a dribble drive. Aaliyah on this pass, everything is on the pass. You want to talk about on the pass, move on the pass in the direction of the ball. As the ball goes, Aaliyah goes a little bit closer. You see her go a little bit closer on this first pass. She jumps off. And then you see her jump off a little further as it gets to the baseline, because our goal on these baseline drives is to make sure we are trapping this box. We want to catch this ball outside of the lane line and make sure we're helping outside that lane line as far out as we can. Caitlin's job on this baseline drive is to sink and make sure as that ball comes out of that corner, out of that dunker area, that she's the next one closest to the closest pass. So she will take, maybe it's an X out like right here where she's got to take the next pass, and then we fall in line from there. One more, you see we're in our gap, we're talking on the ball reversal, everybody's moving. On the pass, you're moving. On the pass, you're moving. You're in the gap, Erica Wheeler, ball gets driven baseline. Here comes Katie Lou. Need to be sunk down into this paint a little bit more. We're only 3-on-3, so we're not worried about this. And then we're Xing out and getting a hand on the ball. All right, just a quick drill that I really like to use whenever we are starting practice, the defensive segment of practice. We've already talked about all of our movements, on ball gaps. So this drill is called the war drill. You can see that I have 4 guys who are set up, corners and slots. We're 4-on-5. We're 5-on-5. We have a post in this drill. You have a post in this drill so you can work on with your post how you're playing post defense, whether you're in a high side 3-quarter, if you're in a wedge, trying to push them out as much as possible. But what this drill is you separate your players into teams. We were able to get 3 teams during training camp. Most of the time, you're only able to get 2. but you can put whatever amount of time on the clock for the drill to run. We have 5 minutes, 5 minutes on the clock, 18 seconds on the shot clock. So each team plays 18 seconds of a shot clock. And their job is these guys on offense, they cannot dribble. They cannot attack. All they can do is pass and hold on to the ball and try to get it to one of their teammates, as we, the defense, are working on ball pressure without fouling, hands on the ball. We want to make sure we're mirroring the basketball, and we're trying to get deflections. That's our goal for this drill. If you foul, you lose a point. So, yep, we want you to be up, but we want you to be pressuring the ball. Set a level of defensive pressure, so that way the carryover for the game, you'll kind of see. Hopefully, you'll get that same kind of pressure. My coaches are set up. I have 2 coaches right here. I have the passing coach who's going to, whenever there's a deflection in this 18-second shot clock, that they just let the ball go, and my coaches are ready to throw the ball in to that player or to an offensive player, and we are right in to playing this. You have 18 seconds to get as many deflections as you can without fouling, and then when the horn sounds, the next team comes on, and it is for 5 minutes, and at the end, we have a score. And then whatever we have that day is what we're doing for teams that didn't win drills. That's what we'll do. So just show you a couple clips of this. You see Caitlin up. She's guarding the basketball. Erica Wheeler's in her high gap. You can even be up higher. Game slippage happens. So if in this drill, I can get Erica Wheeler up higher. Maybe in the game, she'll be closer to that. But on the pass, you see these guys move, hand on the ball, no foul. The one rule, I didn't say this, if the ball goes into the post, you cannot steal or deflect it out. You've got to let the ball come back out, but the post player has to get it out quick. And we keep playing, hand on the ball, everybody's moving. That's one deflection for this team. Hand on the ball in the gap, that's a second deflection, and that's the time. And then we've got our next team coming out. Here's our white team. We got hand on the ball in the gap, deflection there, that's one. Hand on the ball, everybody's moving. You see us on the pass, move, on the pass, move. That's 2 deflections. On the pass, move, get up and pressure the ball. Get up and pressure the ball, hand on the ball. But this is a drill. I love to start my drill with this. My practices with that. Just it gets the energy flowing. This is trap the box. This drill is a 4-on-4 drill when you're breaking down the movements of your defense. We work on several different things out of this right here. This first clip is just the basic movement. The offensive guys aren't moving. We will work on pass to the corner and cut and feel. So we're working on jumping to the ball, staying between the ball and your man as we cut through. We work on interchanges. So if these guys interchange as the ball is on this side of the floor, we want to make sure that these guys are communicating to each other, that there's an interchange so they're moving and not losing sight of the ball. So right here, again, it's just shell, 4-on-4 shell, trap the box, we call it. A lot of times in trap the box, I don't have it on this clip, but I have a manager, somebody with a pad down here, and I make this weak side defender come all the way down and hit that pad and turn and see both. It's just a way to get them a little bit lower. So in the game, like I said, with that game slippage, but we're just playing this 4-on-4 with the different scenarios. There's the baseline drive. There's my coach with the pad right here. Edub had to come down, hit the pad, because her job, if there's a pass out, she's able to get to that pass because she's the closest one to it. Trap the box. When we get the ball here, if we can, we want to trap that ball so hard they're not able to throw it out in live play. And I want to show you this one right here. There's that baseline drive. Edub was the next closest defender, so she had to come take the ball. We're in gaps. You see Erica Wheeler's man right here. He's making a basket cut. So you have to drill, jump to the ball, see ball, keep man, see man. But we work on this baseline drive immediately as that cut is happening, because a lot of times players will leave and just chase their man out. AB's man had moved up, so she's out of the play. But if Erica Wheeler would have not seen man see ball, she would have missed her rotation right here to stop the trap the box on this side of the paint. So you want to make sure you're drilling all these different scenarios in your 4-on-4 shell, in your in this drill that we call trap the box. Here you see on this one, you see the interchange right here between these guys. That is communication. I'll say it again. If you're not talking, you're not playing defense. You always want, if this is happening, this top player, whoever was the top player, needs to be the one that jumps closer to the ball, to the offside, to the weak side, to make their way down. So that way, the person coming up, if there's a middle drive, if the ball gets sent here and drive, she's in position and not way on the outside. So just a few tips of some of the things that we do in our trap the box drill. And then obviously you go 4-on-4 shell live from there. You separate your teams, you play live, you have different rules, way to catch points. In these, I'm pretty sure you get a deflection as a point, a contested shot as a point. You lose 2 points if you give up an offensive rebound. If the offense gets 2 feet in the paint, you give up a point. So just a couple clips to show our movement in this 4-on-4 live. Again, I wish you could hear the volume on this. This is where we try to make our guys talk loud, continuous, often, and then always finishing with a box out. As soon as, if you get a stop, you stay on, because if you get a stop, you get a point as well. So if you get a stop, you stay on. Nothing you guys haven't done, I'm sure, 100 times with your players with shell drill, but I want to show this one. Christie Wallace is in a great gap right here. She's seeing her man. She's seeing the ball. Caitlin starts giving up middle drive. You see Christie Wallace give a good sting. He doesn't see where he's able to get to the middle. Everybody's moving in the direction of the ball. Got Timmy right here, whose man starts dribbling high. Ball gets made across court. She's still moving and in a position a little bit late because we want to catch this outside this lane line, but she's able to get there and we keep playing. That's one of the main things when players make mistakes. A lot of times, especially younger players, they get down on themselves and they stop playing. You've got to create habits where players continue to play the entire shot clock, or unless they hear a whistle. Play through everything until you are stopped by the whistle or the horn. Going back, that's just kind of a few things from defensive accountability, how to build your defensive culture, a couple drills that we do. It's all about high energy. You got to create that kind of energy on the defensive side of the floor and your players, and get your players to buy into that. Back to my slides right here. I'm going to move on now. That was the pressure piece, the defensive piece. I want to move on to the pace piece. When it is next play mentality. When you get those stops, when you get a deflection, when you get a steal, it's got to be automatic. You have got to make sure your players, you've got to do things and create chaos and make sure they are getting out and getting in transition. But you got to get that rebound first. And you got to make sure your outlets are automatics and everything is an action and not a reaction. Some of the key principles that I use are one voice on the glass. So for 24 seconds or whatever your shot clock is, if you have a shot clock, when you're on that defensive end of the floor, you are talking nonstop. But the last call that is talked about is the shot. You want to yell shot. And once that call is yelled, then everything else, the next thing that you should hear is whoever on your team is either your point guard or whoever you designate as your outlet. You need to hear that voice next, because the quicker you can get it to your outlet player, the quicker you can get down the floor. So you want to make sure it is shot on the defensive end, and the next thing your players hear is outlet or whatever your call is. So one voice on the glass. So important, hit ahead rule. If your players don't buy into, if you don't have players that will throw the ball ahead to their open teammates, you're not going to get your players to run where you're asking them to run every possession. I'll show you, I have a terminology page that I'm going to show you here in a second of where I send my players, but that first open teammate, you've got to make sure that ball, that they get that pass every single time to create that culture. We don't want our post players to catch it and start dribbling and put it on the floor. It is a catch outlet. And for that point guard or that wing who has it, it is either a one dribble kick ahead or no dribble, or when you are dribbling, you are going to cross Main Street. You are going to cross the midline. So that way you're shifting the defense. Again, here we go. The first 3 steps win the race. That danger zone is so important. You can track that. You can show your players on video that they are not sprinting as fast as they can in transition offense. Now, they are running to get to their spots. So those are, that's a non-negotiable for sure. But again, playing fast is a mindset. It's where the game is going today. So you want to make sure you're establishing all these habits early. Lane discipline and role definition. Chaos kills tempo, right? So if my players are both running on the same side every time, or both, the wings are running, or my posts aren't running where they're supposed to run, you have to assign lanes and make it automatic for players. Roles in transition: rim runner, first post down, sprints opposite slot. You guys can see this on my page right here. You see the green is the lanes for the wings, and we want to make sure they run wide and they get to that corner X. If they are on top of that X, if they're in that break area, then that means their defense is higher, and that's not allowing us to have great driving lanes. So you want to make sure that your players are running to those X's and they're staying there, ready for shots. My rim runner is my first post who's going. She's in one of the slots, which is that yellowish color. She wants to be opposite the ball, and she wants to be running in that opposite slot. And about the time she hits the 3-point line is when I think it's okay for them to start moving into the middle of the paint. Maybe there's a mismatch, somebody that's down there, and they're able to post. Point guards are running in the opposite slot. Eyes up, ready to hit the first pass ahead if there's one. And then my trailer, my drag, my next post down is rim running, but she's running in that middle area, that red area. And when she comes down, her job is either to sprint right into a drag screen, because we have great spacing if everybody's where they're supposed to be, or she's going to be there to reverse the ball through to get us going into a secondary if we did not have the advantage in primary. Our rule for the post, that first post down, once she gets down there, she's got about 3 seconds. And then if she doesn't have the ball, if she's not able to make a play, then she's got to get out to the dunker, which is around those X's, right on the baseline where you see that little hash mark. I'm going to go back to a couple. I want to show you on my sports code some pace, some speed, cause chaos. I want to show you this, what we work on, and how we get to that point in our practice. This drill is called Dunk City. All I'm going to show you is us running to those spots that I just showed you, that we tell our players, this is where you have to get to. Dunk City is a 5-on-0 drill. We do it throughout practice. It is 5 trips. It's a different shot. We tell our players where we want to get those shots to come from. But we get the ball out. We put a time on the clock. I think it's 45 seconds that they've got to get the 5 trips. But the first one, like I said, you've got to make sure you pass ahead to that first person that's available right here. It was our post, Aaliyah Boston. She was able to get it. We get the ball out. We've got wings running to their X's. They've got to get to that corner. We didn't get to the X this time. It was a pass ahead because she was open. I have to establish that. The next one was a 3 by our opposite wing. I want to go back to that because you see Grace Berger right here. She crosses Main Street, which shifts the defense, which is probably the reason, if I had to guess, Maya's man would have been in the paint somewhere or just hadn't gotten back. We want to make sure that we are crossing Main Street to shift that defense, get those wide open looks. This is a pitch action. That was one of our main actions in our secondaries. So just wanted to get that in. And then this is the last trip with our post player, our second post. She's running to set that drag and get a look for our point guard. Couple clips from games. I'm telling you, it is a culture. It is creating habits. You have to have players that next play mentality. As soon as that ball is rebounded, they are out running. Right here, you see Caitlin. She finds Christie Wallace ahead, who sees Kelsey. It helps to have really fast players. Caitlin, who's a great passer, but it is on the rebound. You see Aaliyah, she doesn't take any time. You hear Caitlin's voice outlet. We've got players running to their spots to get ahead, to get these easy baskets. Our defense, we want to create these kind of points. We talked about where the first post needs to run. We talked about that slot. Here is Melissa Smith. She's running in that opposite slot. Kelsey Mitchell is running to the corner, which drags her man out. If she doesn't run to that corner, then we don't get that look right there because her man's probably standing right here if she stays here. You have to have good spacing. One more, you see Kelsey Mitchell. We get the outlet. She is great at just putting pressure on the defense, but you have to know if you are teaching primary actions, our players have to know that there's going to be players in the corner. So when they draw all this attention, they will have a teammate ready for a wide open shot in the corner. Kelsey drew all 5 players into that paint. You see them all right here because of her aggressive attack to the basket, and we're able to shoot a wide open 3. Always want to make sure you're playing through your early post play. Right here, you see Aaliyah getting into the post. Primary playing fast does not mean you have to hurry, okay? You have to really establish that with your players. But right here, I'm pretty sure is where Caitlin recognizes that Aaliyah's defender is on her inside. So she crosses Main Street, so she has a better angle. And this is how we want to establish all of our offense. To me, it's my philosophy. I just want to make sure we establish the paint first. Primary threes, we love to, if you're open, we give players, they shoot enough in practice, they work on it enough that they are given the green light. This is off a steal. I want you to look at this spacing right here. We're able to get players to where they need to be with all this spacing. I'm telling you, the ball moves faster off a pass than the dribble, so we move the ball really quick. The defense isn't able to recover, and we're able to get a great wide open look in transition. Last one right here is in primary is just drags. You see Aaliyah coming down. Right now, Caitlin knows that her man is in the paint, and there's nobody, if Aaliyah sets a really good screen right here, that can stop this shot. So just our players are in their spaces. We have good spacing. We have a low post occupying down there. And then you see as they come out to defend, now we're able to get a post player in the scrimmage area where she's able to see all the action. She's able to see our spacing. Somebody has to take her, whether it's this post coming up, one of these guys, and you always have your shooters ready in the corner. Last thing I'm going to talk about, hit the pressure, got the pace. Now we're going to just talk about the poise piece. Just want, this is the decision zone. I talked about advantages. If you have the advantage, if it's neutral, you want to teach your players what that advantage looks like. If it's neutral, if it's a disadvantage situation, and what you do from there. I always talk about this is where speed meets intelligence. So it really helps if you have a point guard who understands time score, things. But the first 3 seconds after crossing half court is when that defines your offense. It's either attack because you see the open spots, you see post players are defenders in the paint, so you're able to attack and get to shooters, or you see where you have a drag situation and you're able to get wide open looks or dump passes to your post player and you're able to make a play. But primary reads, rim is open, attack, help defender in the paint, attack defender, no advantage. Now we're into our poise where we have to flow into a secondary, and we have to make sure that we have our players in the right positions, because you want to make sure that your secondaries are where your players are in their spots in the corners, your post players are in the dunker and in the able to reverse the ball. So I have some actions. I'm going to just kind of scroll through these, trying to get through this really quick. I will have all these for you, but I'm going to talk about two of our actions that are secondaries. It's our swing package. We have swing one, swing two, we have swing roll. There's several of these, but I just want to show you guys these really quick. When we come down and swing, we see here comes Caitlin. I'd like for her to get a little bit lower, because I think if she would have drove this ball down to this area, she would have seen Aaliyah having Tina Charles right here. That's always our first look. We're wanting to go into our post, but we're not able to get that. So it starts with a ball reversal. Here's my trail post. This winged offensive player has to make sure they're working to get open so they're able to get a catch. My low post is following the ball. So if we can get the ball here initially into the post on the reversal, that's what we're looking for. Swing one is after this ball is reversed, our trail post is running into a quick pin for this first guard, who is your point guard right here. So here's our quick pin. List gives a good screen, and we're able to get a great look by a great shooter. Swing two is same action. Again, I like to get the ball down. They were putting a lot of pressure on Caitlin in this game, so we went ahead and got into swing two. We go set a stagger, so two screens for the corner player. Again, we've got our post who's following the ball. So now here comes Kelsey, who's able to come off, great shooter, making great reads coming off. This next one is swing two again, but I just want to show you the amount of attention when you're able to run good offense and have players that can make plays. You can see right here, we reverse to Kelsey. We're in swing two. Caitlin's making her way to come screen, set this double stagger. But I want you to look at the defense right here. She is sold out on not letting Aaliyah get a pass into the post, which means she's no help. These defenders are more concerned about what's going on in this stagger. So I always try to talk to, you want to talk on offense as well. You want to say, hey, I'm coming to get you right here. It makes your man look up. See, I'm about to get hit by a screen. But you see all of this is happening, and Kelsey Mitchell is given a line to drive directly to the basket because of the action taking place. Probably could have had that action happen a little bit more outside. It was a little too deep, but still fast player was able to get to it. Swing curl, same action as swing two. Only thing takes place is the first cutter is now going to curl the first one and set almost a double screen for that second player to get a shot off. So swing curl, the first cutter cuts through and gets to, she's supposed to go out the backside, but Caitlin was open. So on this one right here, you'll see Kelsey coming off. Kelsey came off as my curl. I've got a pin down happening on this side, and I've got a pin in happening on this side. Just options. Swing X, any of my packages always have something for a post player. In this swing X action, you have the same start where you have the ball reversal, but this time I have my point guard. After she reverses the ball to the high post, she is going to come around and set a cross screen for that post player, and we're looking to get the ball there, hoping they help, and then our screener is going to receive a pin down for a good look right here. The next one, going to run through it really quick, is just my dive package. My dive package, I've got my guards in the corners. We drive at the high post. That's going to bring my low post into a middle pick and roll. And then we're just in a roll rise situation, but it just gives us an initial ball screen in the middle of the floor. Driving at my high post. Here comes my opposite post. We're in a roll rise, and we're able to get some great looks and some high-low action. And you can see she wants to go so bad, but she knows she's got shooters all around, that it becomes one-on-one in the post. Huge advantage for the offense. Dive small pin, same action, except we put a small into the first action. We dive at her, so she dives to the block. Here comes that middle pick and roll. And as she comes off, this player right here, the small, can either come off a pin down or she can come off a pin in. You see Caitlin took the baseline and was able to get that look right there. One more, Kelsey Mitchell's in the dive small pin. She does a great job of setting her man up. She thinks she's coming off the pin from the high, but then she takes her man low, and then she's just a great player, able to make a play. Again, here's my dive X package for my post player. I love this play. It used to be called Dirk for Dirk Nowitzki, but it starts with dive at my post. As this middle pick and roll is happening, this side guard is going over to set a cross screen. The timing of this is this, the ball should be coming off this middle pick and roll as that guard is going down to set that cross screen. And we get some great looks off of that look right there. Last one, this is if you have a stretch. Katie Lou right here is my stretch. There she goes into the dive action, but we come all the way across and we know Katie Lou's going to go out and get a three since she's such a good shooter when she's playing the four for us. Like I said, you guys, I will have all these for you. Coaches, I'll leave you with this. Pressure is a privilege. Pace is a weapon, and poise is always your separator. You've always got to be able to finish. Thank you for your time. I'm hoping, sorry, Adam, if I went over, but thank you for your time and your energy, your commitment to the athletes you coach. Thank you. You are doing a great thing that is so needed. I'm honored to be on this journey with you now. So let's make sure we get in that gym, raise your standards, one possession, one practice, and one player at a time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Coach Christie. This was great. Lots of good information there. We do have a few questions that are, and coaches, you're welcome to put in the Q&A. I've got a few of them here right now. Some went to me directly. Some are on the Q&A, and there's one that has a hand up. So we're going to turn on the mic in a moment for our hand up. So the first question was already posted there, and it kind of was probably answered, but maybe just to dig a little more on this about the question was, you mentioned no middle drives and said that you would not say baseline. Are you referring to the tactic to force baseline or force sideline? And can you elaborate on why you don't recommend? You mentioned that opens up your feet too much. And he added a little more to it, saying you kind of answered that, but maybe just a little touch on that, a quick one.
Yeah, I have been part of staffs where we did both. That we sent the ball to, we called it send the ball to the baseline, make the ball go to the baseline. And a lot of times I just wanted to find something small as a tool to help those players understand where their feet needs to be. So if you say if the ball is on the wing and you say send that ball to the corner, it just closes down your feet a little bit more. So you're not so open to that basket, allowing that baseline drive. Yeah, we want no middle drives, but we sure don't want to have to put our post players in a position, if we can help it, to come over and have to help and then possibly get a foul.
Okay, great. One question that came to me directly I put in there was, what are some strategies you used for your team to teach that a defense is important mindset, especially for younger ages?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we use a lot, I love analytics. I love being able to use numbers to tell a story. So a lot of times, if you can show players the percentages of things and when they did something a certain way, the deflections, what is that, how does that lead to turnovers? And then look how much we were able to score in early offense, and look at the high percentage shots we were able to take. So a lot of times I use analytics as a storyteller to show players with video. It's always important, like I said, to be able to use video. It's such a huge tool in showing players, mistakes are making, but also you got to show players, some positives and the things they do well. So it's a fine line. I usually like to hit on something that they need to work on, that we need to work on as a team, and then show a 2-to-1 of some good things that we show.
Okay, great. You can read this one as well. It's in the Q&A. It's the one from Steven. I'll just read it quick because it doesn't come up on the video. In your 3-on-3 defensive breakdown drill, post, wing, top, when the defense drives to the hoop from the corner and the post sprints across to cut off the drive and trap outside the key, why do you want the third defender to sink so far down into the key if she thinks the player has to close out so far to the first kick out? Is there a responsibility that the player has that pulls into her key?
Yeah. So when you're playing 3-on-3, the thing you have to, you have to remember there's two more defenders out there. So what we try to do is we just try to overemphasize certain things. Number one is just that ball line. And that is just a way as that ball is dribbled, you want to make sure we are protecting that basket. That is the main thing. We feel like if we can get our basket protected, and then they're able to, if they kick out, that we are able to get out in a pretty good closeout, and that way they don't get that high percentage shot. So in once we move on to 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5, you can see the difference. And yeah, they will not drop so low in those positions because there's actually a player that's usually there that's covering that spot or that area. So it's just a way to drill where we figure out a way to get players to move and just protect the ball, protect the basket.
Okay, great. Dean, you had raised your hand, so I'm going to allow you to talk here. So you should be able to unmute yourself and ask your question. If that's what you meant to do, maybe you hit it by accident, but you just have to turn on your microphone if you have that option. Dean M. It was. If not, maybe that was hit by mistake. But maybe as Dean's trying, or maybe he's not. I'm going to ask the next question here. I'm a youth coach, also a father to a son and daughter. I have been coaching my son and started to coach my daughter. What is the biggest difference between coaching boys and girls?
I've always wanted to coach guys. I've not ever coached guys. I was several years ago, there was an opportunity that I maybe could have crossed over and went to the NBA and worked with as a development coach. But honestly, basketball is basketball, and I feel like talking to guys and coaching guys. I've done some development work with guys. Guys tend to, they're okay with not being cool at times, going hard. Girls, you have to get them comfortable, and it being okay to to get out there and dive on the floor for loose balls, and these things are important for you to win. So I think difference between guys and girls as it relates to the basketball, not a lot. I just think you just have to get girls over some insecurities that they might have that guys don't struggle with. But it's really fun to watch girls once they don't have a issue with diving on the floor and yelling and screaming and being uncool, if you will.
Okay, great. Next one we have from Ben. Are your secondary breaks all predicated on current spacing, reading the ball, or do you have an idea of what you would want to get against certain opponents or matchups?
Yeah, I usually am trying to get, we want to make sure we are getting an opportunity to score in primary. I mean, to me, you have a higher you're the chances of the defense being able to get back and get set in the first 6 seconds of the shot clock are, that's advantage offense, right? So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we show our players those specific spaces. I don't know if you caught it, but there was a video that came up, and it was in the Pacers practice facility, and there are actually, even in their gym, it's in our gym as well, there's spots on the floor, and in every made or missed basket, unless it's a dead ball situation, we are sprinting to those certain spots. Just like I told you, even at the pro level, I am encouraging players to run to certain X's or to certain side dunkers. But we want to try to get those players in those spots and then work from there. Once we cross that half court line, and those 2 or 3 seconds after we cross, we realize we don't have the advantage. I want them right into something, and they're in those spots, ready to run whatever. We probably had 5 or 6 secondaries that we would use during the season, and I would, whatever I thought was better for us against our opponent is the secondaries that we would use according to who I thought we would have the advantage on. So we would have 5 or 6 and then choose those from who we were playing that night.
Okay, great. I've got another question here. It's in the chat. What are your trap versus hard switch rules on defense, and what is your best drill to work on it?
Hard trap. That's all personnel driven, team driven, whoever we're playing. we want to get outside if we feel like that the ball handlers in certain situations aren't going to have a great opportunity to get that ball kicked out. But it starts with that hard trap and making sure you are up, body up to that offensive player without fouling, high hands, just making it really, really hard. And then working on from there, all those players that have sunk towards that ball line, whoever is that next pass, right next to like on the ball side, or they're in a position to intercept that pass, and then so on. So these are things that we drill. A lot of times, if it's a team that we think could hurt us, if we are in a trapping situation, we work on X and out. So we will keep our post player or the player that came over to help in the trap, and we will leave with that person as soon as they pick up the ball, sprint to the opposite, whoever the farthest offensive player is, work on those rotations coming around. So it's get the ball stopped and sprint out of there. And everybody, it's that, you have to create situations where people aren't afraid to guard. If I'm a post player, I need to be able to break down and have the rules and understand how I need to guard a perimeter player. And so that's how we like to play. And again, according to whoever that team that we're playing, that we think we can either trap or stop the ball and sprint out of it.
Okay, great. We got three more, and we'll do three quick hitter questions here, or maybe they're quick, but maybe not quick answers. And we'll look to wrap it up just for time. Next question is, within your defensive system, this is from Keenan. Are all defenders one pass away in the gaps? Are they stunting and recovering on both baseline and middle drives?
Yes, great question. And we are not stunting as hard if you are in the guarding the corner player and we are in the wing corner gap. We are not stunning to the point where we're giving up that corner three. But yeah, one pass away, we are in a high gap and really putting a lot of pressure on the basketball.
Okay, great. In your 45-second transitions, is the pitch pass between point guard and corner wing, or point guard and trail post? Did the ball cross Main Street before the pitch pass?
Yes, we like to cross Main Street if we're running that. We called that Indy. It was a secondary out of, and that was the first option. And so we want to start that with a cross Main Street, pitch to that four. It's usually the four, and then have some actions out of it.
Okay, great. Two more, and we'll put a pin in this one. Due to the higher extent of injuries at the higher levels, do you incorporate more flexibility and mobility training into your practices? Is there anything else you would recommend?
Yeah, I'm learning. The strength coaches that I've had in the past with the teams I've played with have really educated me on. I come from an old school. I don't even think when I was in college, my coaches let us warm up. There was no warm up. We went right into it. That's more of an old school thing. But yes, I think there's a lot going on as it relates to injuries. I think overtraining is one of them. I know that's been a huge problem with the women, especially with how they've had to play at the highest level in the WNBA and then go overseas. And, your body needs rest. You have to be able to turn off everything for at least, I try to say, like 2 weeks, and then let everything kind of heal and then get back to it. But to start practice, I think, we did a lot of preventative things during our warm up. I always wanted to incorporate, with females and ACLs, knock on wood. I hate even saying that, but we did a lot of knee preventative stuffs in our warm ups, hoping to keep those injuries from happening.
Great. And the last question, in the war drill, do you find a way to score it differently at times, or do you keep it based solely on deflections?
Solely on deflections, and then losing points if you foul. You have to be aggressive, but you have to be smart and you have to have discipline. But it's the first drill that we do in that defensive segment of practice. So it is just get into it and get those deflections. We're trying to get our hand on the ball, create that standard.
Super. Well, that's our questions we have. A lot of great information from you, Coach. We really appreciate your time with us this morning. Wishing you well with your future coaching endeavors, and of course with Team Canada, as that our national team is very lucky to have you as another guide and another leader on our sidelines to keep Canada growing at the international stage. So thank you again very much for your insight on the game and your expertise to bring to our coaches here in at our Super Coaches Clinic. So again, thanks, Coach.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks again.